Ah, that's delicious. Hold on a sec here. I could never live without coffee. It just couldn't happen. Why would I want to? I don't want to. What's going on, everybody? It's the 4th almost. We had Canada Day the other day. Ben Coombs is in the house, I see. He's Canadian. What'd you do on Canada Day, Ben? Was it good? I kept forgetting it was Canada Day. I was a bad Canadian. But the 4th, it's going to be fun. I think just going to go over to my friend Mr. Sir's place and hang out and make some pizza and just have a nice time with friends. So what else happened this week? I did a video for the new Wampler Delay that I put out on Monday. And it's a kind of a multi-delay algorithm affair with a very small housing for, being programmable and everything. Excuse me. And so that came out on Monday. And my favorite sounds in it were the ethereal. And some of I actually forgot when I did the video that ethereal is a Wampler delay, so they used their own algorithm. So it's an existing kind of delay that they made a few years ago that I did a video for. And anyways, so sounds really good and sounds just like that pedal as I remember it. There's also the Doctor in there, which is kind of a lo-fi affair as well. So some different takes on digital, lo-fi, tape, analog. All kinds of stuff in there. What else? What else happened? I put out a little video. It's actually doing quite well. Which I'm pleasantly surprised about, for my ASI in-ears. So you may have seen that come out yesterday, where I sat with my friend Evan. And then at the beginning of the video, I realized I called Evan Michael right after I introduced him. I was kind of making an offhand joke, and Michael Santucci is the doctor that designed the in-ear. So I do things like that sometimes. And so I hit him up and I said, I'm really sorry I called you Michael after introducing you as Evan. Anyway, there's always something in every video, a little error, a little mistake. I'm trying to turn up the air in here. It's hot as hell in here. Open Nest app. There we go. Isn't it amazing all the things we can do on our phone these days? As long as it connects. There it is. Wonderful. Now what do you do? There we go. Come on. AC, kick in. One of the things I did when I designed this room that was really poorly conceived was I wanted to limit the sound coming in the room and getting out of the room. So I put a very small AC vent, and whatever how the AC is traveling all the way back is through, what do you call it, a conduit or whatever, and it's full of insulation, and so there's probably about that much in the middle of like the air getting through from the other parts of this building, and it's just, when it's cool everywhere else in the building, it's rather hot in here. So it was really stupid, but I was just trying to not you spend a bunch of money building like a wall, green glue and double door and all this stuff, and you're gonna cut a hole in it. It's like, it didn't make sense to me. Lauren's probably laughing at me right now if he's out there watching, because he's probably like, you dummy, there's a way to do that. But anyways, so what else? So my ASI in-ears, that was what I was on about. Love those things, and hopefully I think I explained them pretty well, and there seems to be a lot of interest in it, which I guess kind of makes sense, because that could be a video that would apply to just about anybody, a musician or of any sort, singers, vocalists, guitar players, drummers. I mean, everybody uses in-ears these days, it seems. So I guess folks are interested, but there was a few misconceptions. And so if anybody has any questions about them, go ahead and ask away, because some people were asking questions, or they make comments, and there was a little bit of like, I tried to explain them clearly. What happens with them is you've got a pack. So you have to have an extra pack. That's one thing, because it's the pack that controls the microphones, the ambience. you would take the traditional, receiver for your in-ear monitors, be it Sennheiser, Shure, or whatever it is, that's sending the signal from the monitor desk to a traditional pack that you would normally just plug the in-ears into. Well, instead, what you do is you jumper that pack over to this ASI pack. It blends in the ambience, and your in-ears plug into that. And then you've got a kind of a control on the other pack, the Sennheiser, Shure, whatever, with the volume from the monitor desk. And then you'll have the ambient volume control on the ASI pack, and you just blend in the mics. Maybe sounds complicated. It's really not. In practice, I got very used to doing it, and it's super simple. It's 2 volume controls, one for mics and one for your mix. Works really well. And it's a rechargeable battery in the ASI pack, like I guess a lithium battery or whatever. So you just plug in the pack, and it charges, via, I guess it's a, standard USB style charge. And it's got a very long battery life. I think the Gen 2 version of the ASI pack is like 8-hour battery life or something. So it'll outlast, it's you could leave it on for 8 hours, and no gig is 8 hours. Well, unless you're Joshi Nagabuchi and you play all night in Japan. But anyways, you get the point. Okay. Anyway, anyone ask me any questions about it, hit me up, please. Because I can answer. Have you tried the Arcane Brown Bucker? I have not. Arcane pickups, the only ones I've tried are they were in my Scala guitar. Now Leo's making his own pickups, actually, so those are gone now. They were, I think, an Alnico 2 PAFE kind of thing, and they sounded really good. I've got to play that guitar more because it's really nice. My Scala with the I think I've shown it before, but is it in here? I thought it was. No, I've got it in my other room. That's probably why I'm not playing it enough, because it's not in here right now. Out of sight, out of mind kind of thing, Oh, here's something I can show you. This is a guitar that Taylor sent to me to use for these upcoming 5 for Fighting dates. So this is a builder's edition. It's 517. Look how pretty it is. It's like very simple and understated, but kind of a, like a J45 slope shoulder sort of looking, style body that they've been doing. And it has a unique for a Taylor, I think it has a LR Baggs pickup system in it. So I'm not sure if that was, usually you see them and they've got those 3 knobs on them here. And I really like that pickup system. It actually works great. But I also love Baggs pickups. They always sound really good. I just love, I used to have a J50, a 1959 J50, my only 1959 Gibson. And I sold it, and it's my biggest guitar selling regret next to my 54 Les Paul that I once had. Stupid. Never should have sold those guitars, but I've talked about it before. But anyways, I loved that J50. It was such a great sounding acoustic. I feel like I was a little more justified selling the J50 than I was the 54 Les Paul. That was dumb. The J50 came at a time where I was starting to get touring work, and I was starting to play on television. I actually did a couple television shows, and I had a Seagull acoustic. That's all I had at the time. It was a inexpensive Canadian acoustic made by the same folks that do the Godin guitars. Seagull was kind of their, it was like a lower price, still made in Canada and everything. And it was a good guitar. It was decent, but I mean, they went for like $399. And I just felt like, here I am, I'm playing on TV. I got to step up my game a little bit and get a more, just a little bit more acoustic. So I actually sold, come to think of it, I traded the J50, I believe. Maybe got some cash for it or something. But anyways, I ended up with a Larrivee, which I still have, another Canadian guitar. It's a very nice guitar, actually. And a Taylor 312 or 14, small body Taylor with a, pickup that predates when they had the 3 knobs on them. And anyway, the Taylor, that served me well. It was a guitar that I used, on numerous, I was playing with Adam Cohen at the time, and we had a bunch of TV and touring and stuff. And I used it on a bunch of TV shows and stuff. And so I needed it. I needed it. I wasn't making a lot of money at the time. I didn't have a lot of, gear or any resources and stuff. So I had to trade that guitar in order to get. I got another nice acoustic that I could record with, I felt like, and then the small body Taylor that I could tour with and play on television and stuff. And it was just something that I needed. So anyways, I'll get another one of these days. But that's a beautiful guitar, and I'm going to take it out with Five for Fighting on tour, starting the dates for Five for Fighting start one off in Oregon, and I believe it's the 14th. And then we start the tour proper in Minnesota around the 21st, I do believe. 21st, 22nd of August. Of July. That's what I meant. And the dates, sorry, of July. And the dates run through August 13th, I think, 12th or 13th. Anyways, okay, so that'll be fun. Surfer B says, I have a Seagull, solid wood, love it. Yeah, it was a nice guitar. You know, it was good. It was a little, it was a cedar top one. It was a little stiff feeling or something, and it sounded good. You know, it wasn't like amazing, but this is you guys and your Seagull stories. I have a 12-string Seagull that helped me get my wife. That's it. There's a story behind that. You must have serenaded. All right. Let's see. What else have we got here? What are you guys talking about? What you sold? I did. I sold what? The J45. I did. I sold it, if that's what you mean. Looks like an angled bracing inside. Yeah, so the bracing is their I think they call it V-class bracing. So it's a kind of unique bracing that Taylor's been doing. They don't do it on, I don't think, all of their guitars, but on most of the new Taylors I see have that different kind of bracing as opposed to the standard sort of X brace that most acoustics would have. It's something that it developed a number of years ago, and they claim that it makes the guitar sound really even all the way up the neck, the harmonics and things, the way they ring. I don't know if that's like, I don't know if they sound any more even or not than a guitar with X bracing, but they are really beautiful sounding, so I don't really worry about it. But it's a terrific guitar. It plays amazing. Taylors to me are kind of like Suhrs. They're just like acoustic guitars with all the problems kind of engineered out of them, and they play so good. And they're always like, you'll never play a bad one. They're always like at least good, even, you know, if you play one that's at a rental place, you know, a backline company, I should say, rental place, a backline company, and you fly out to do a gig or something, you can put a Taylor on the rider, and it'll always be at least a good guitar, you know, good serviceable guitar, all the way to really, really great, I find. So I'm a big fan of them. Yeah. In your early days, did you ever use an Echoplex? You know, I really didn't, but I did use a Space Echo from time to time. And I don't even remember where I had access to one, but my main experience with tape delay was the Space Echo. It might have been a friend's. I'm just trying to remember. But I remember using it and always thinking, like, this is early 80s, you know, and always thinking like, man, even when the delay's not on in this thing, it just makes everything sound better. And probably the electronics or the preamp, you know. And it's interesting because in the Space Echo pedal demo I did, they've modeled the preamp in the pedal, and you can turn it on or off, and you can hear the difference. And it definitely lends a little bit to the tone. So I always thought it just sounded great in front of an amp. You know, and now, of course, I played through Echoplexes, and they're just fun in a similar way. They just do something to the sound when you put them in line. It's really cool. They're just fun. I love tape delays. How do you balance work and life? Well, you know, I don't, to be honest, that well. I try, but I force myself to take a day off every now and then from being here and doing stuff, and, you know, going. My release is generally I go to the beach and I ride my bike. I really enjoy that. So here in LA, you know, you can start up in Santa Monica on a bike path that runs all the way down from, you know, it's not quite all the way to Topanga Canyon where it cuts through. It's a few miles short of that, but basically close to there. Yeah, I mean, the very, very north part of Santa Monica, you can almost ride on a path all the way down to, I mean, basically to Redondo Beach if you want to, which would be really far. I mean, it would probably be 20 miles or something like that from end to end, maybe 15. So you're riding, through Santa Monica and then through Marina Del Rey, and then you got to cut around in Marina Del Rey because there's the marina there and the water cuts in and stuff. There's no bridge there for the path or whatever. So you got to cut back in and kind of ride some city streets for a bit, but then you cut back out and now you're back on the bike path. And now you're in kind of Playa del Rey and then El Segundo, Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach, and then you could go all the way to Redondo if you want to, which is basically all the way to the end where the hill, or where everything juts out and becomes Palos Verdes. And it's a beautiful ride. I've never gone that far. I've gone as far as Hermosa Beach, but if you do that round trip from Santa Monica, it's about 25 miles round trip, and it's a great ride. And so I can go there and get there for 11 a.m. or even 1 p.m. or something, and head out and go all the way down there, have a bite to eat down in like Hermosa Beach or something, and turn around, come all the way back, and that's just great for me. And it kind of evens me out, and it's a nice day. That's all I need to really, And there's lots of things you can do here in LA for you can go down to. I like Laguna Beach a lot. I'm a beach guy. I like going to the beach and riding my bike. So I'll throw my bike in the car and drive down there and pull the bike out and ride a tool around and stuff and go get food and just be a bum for the day, Beach bum. I like that. I like that a lot. But I'm not that great at balancing, or I'm sort of disorganized guy, to be honest. And sometimes that's part of it though. That's part of making music, is getting lost in the, I've been here for 12 hours and I didn't even realize it. Is it sunny out? Is it nighttime? What time? And you get lost in the work. And I've just always kind of been that way. I remember talking about Chris Cornell about this, who I had a dream about last night. It was such a weird dream, but I remember talking to him and saying, "Do you forget to eat?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." And I'm like, "Do you forget to go to the bathroom sometimes?" And like all of a sudden you got to pee so bad that you're just like, he's like, "Yeah, totally." Like that's what creative people do. I think you get like so lost in the thing that you don't want to stop. And then you guys know what I'm talking about. If you're, practicing guitar or writing a song or that kind of thing. So it's just really neat. Cup of Noodles is saying, why a dreadnought style over an OM style? I just, Tim from Taylor, who's my contact there, he's a great guy. I've known him for a number of years. He used to be at Line 6. And anyway, he's just terrific. And he sent me some Taylor guitars a while ago to check out. And he's a fan of J45s. And I think he knew I was a fan of J45s. And he said, we've got this new model you got to check out. And that was these, they call it Grand Pacific, I do believe. 517 Builders Edition Grand Pacific, at least that's what that one is. But he sent me an 8 and, a few different ones to check out. And I made a little video with them. And I think I just like those guitars. I always have. I like the OM style. I mean, I like a lot of different body shapes and different types of guitars, but I don't know. There's something about a J45 or J50 that were just kind of like a good basic acoustic guitar that was like a terrific guitar for strumming on. And that's kind of most of what I do when I play acoustic. I don't necessarily need a cutaway and all that kind of stuff. So I was going out on the road, and I was like, the ones that he sent me to check out don't have pickups. And I hit him up and said, by any chance, do you have anything with a pickup? And he said, I do. And he's so awesome. And so, he sent me that one to use on this tour, and I'm going to enjoy the hell out of it. Oh, yeah. All right. Let's see. I'm going to go down to the bottom of the chat here and see what you guys are talking about. Paul says, did we just start? We sort of just started about 25 minutes ago. Douglas says, love your channel. Sorry if I'm late to the game, but how do you compare your Sur new model neck to the previous one? It's a little wider. And it's got a different profile to the back. So it's a little thicker. There's a slight V down low, just very slight. And then it becomes a C by about the 4th or 5th fret, transitions into the C, and it was a neck that John had supposedly hand shaped that we based this one off of. So because I've got another Sir that it was digitized off of. So the old one is an even C slim, which to me isn't really slim. I've talked about this a lot before. It's just a nice even C neck. But this one, because people were, if there was ever anybody that said anything about my old guitar, they said, I wish the neck wasn't that slim. And I once again, for me, it was great. It just felt like a good modern C. But I like different kinds of necks. So I thought, well, I love this other guitar that I have. It's my green Sir Classic S from like 2008 or 9. And I said, why don't we do this neck? You know, this is a great neck. And maybe it'll appeal to other folks that the other one doesn't. I can play both and really enjoy them. So that's what we did. It's ever so slightly wider too, to 1.680 or something like that, as opposed to 1.650. So it's just ever so slightly wider. And that seems to appeal to a lot of people. I didn't realize that was going to be like, you see a lot of people say, finally, I can get a guitar that's not a custom order that has that slightly wider neck on it. That's so awesome. You know, I've seen a few people say that. So anyway, if you like a slightly bigger neck, it's not big by any means, or like a fat boat neck or anything. It's very sort of 60s Strat with, it really feels, it's kind of funny because it feels a lot like my 64 Strat. Without going for that, I realized after doing it, when I picked up my 64 and then I picked it up, I was like, these necks are really similar. Like, you know, my green Sir, and that, which is maybe why I was drawn to that guitar initially. Anyway, Ben Coombs says, hit the like, folks. Thank you. Yeah, that'd be awesome. That would be awesome if you did that. Who's that? Tome Talk. What's up? How you doing, man? Have a great holiday weekend. I can't wait to get my Lefty Pete standard signature. Yeah, dude, that's amazing that you're getting that in a left-hander, and I love that they do them lefty. You know, so it should be coming to you one of these days soon, I hope. Happy July 4th to you too. Always good to see you. And what do you guys got going on? You got some good guests coming up and stuff? You guys always got good guests. Okay, let's see. Just got back into guitar a few days ago after a decade break. Got an EVH Wolfgang, trying to live up to its legacy. That's awesome, man. Yeah, sometimes a break is good, and you get back into it. I think I mentioned, actually, I don't know if I did. It was when I was at Sweetwater. I met a few folks that were just there shopping and stuff, you know, and you know, they'd be, oh, you're Pete Thorn. And then we get in conversations. There's one really nice guy, and he was there with his dad. And his dad had given up guitar many years ago and kind of given his gear away. And he had a 69 Les Paul Custom, that's just cool. You know, Black Beauty Les Paul Custom that he'd given to his grandson. And lots of amps and stuff. And he told me, I might have told this story already. I just can't remember if I did or not on one of these live streams. But seems to me that I didn't. But anyways, what was my point? He was in there buying a Marshall Jubilee, like a mini Jubilee head. They're not mini, but they're 20 watts or whatever. And I thought, that's cool. This guy's like probably like mid to late 60s, you know, getting a Marshall. I thought, that's awesome. And he told a great story about Joe Walsh, about how he'd grown up going to the same school, I think, as Joe, something like that. Or anyway, they live in the same hood and they played in bands. And Joe had a band, and then the band broke up, and he's like, we tried to get him to join our band, but he was smart. He didn't. And, you know, rest is history, obviously. But he was just a cool guy, and it was really neat that he'd quit years ago and got rid of all his gear, and then he got the bug again and was starting. So that's the point of my story. He's doing the same thing you're doing. He took a break, and now he's back buying Marshalls and stuff. And I was like, that's awesome. Really nice. Him and his son there shopping together. It was cool. Let's see here. Pet says, what was it like listening to Chris Cornell singing in the same room? Man, it was magic. You know, some of my best memories of that are going to do early morning radio with him, because I used to do all that stuff. So we'd go to local radio stations and play, and we'd do like a Stone or Black Hole Sun, or, you know, some different songs. And and it would just be him and I on acoustics, and we got very used to doing that. And sitting in I remember one in particular. It was maybe New York or Chicago, and I remember sitting in a studio, and I was really tired because we'd played the night before, and it was like I'd have to get up at 7 to go to the radio station for 7:45 performance or something. So you'd get up and you'd just be like, oh man, tired, And we get in the car together, it'd just be him and me and a driver generally, and maybe his security guy in the front, and we'd sit there and, how you doing? Oh man, I'm sleepy. Oh, me too. And but we go there and then warm up a little bit, and then generally sometimes you'd be in the room with the radio station people, the announcers and stuff like that, the hosts. But many times it would just be the two of us. And I remember this one in like Chicago or something in particular, and him sitting across from me, and we're sort of facing one another, and we had Mike on the guitars and Mike for vocals, and we were just playing, and it was like real quiet. It was kind of like being in an ISO room in a studio, and we were just sitting there playing. He was singing in front of me, and that one in particular I really remember, because this is really special. Like, we're both just tired sitting here, but this guy is like, he's just like one of the greatest singers ever, and he's sitting right across from me, and we're just doing our thing and a couple of buds, and it was so fun, I was like, yeah, I'm tired, but are you kidding me? Like, I'll do this every day if I can. So it was like that, just where I was just really grateful to be there in the room. Yep. Really, really nice. And then playing on stage, I would have with the band, I would have a similar feeling often, where I like that with a lot of folks, though. Like, same thing with Don Henley. I remember in particular Don, Melissa Etheridge. I mean, lots of people. Tioshi. I mean, he's an amazing singer too. And there's a kind of thread that runs through it all, no matter who these people are. But like Henley, doing New York Minute was the one where I didn't really have to play at all in the verse. I just played a very simple guitar part in the chorus. And, the story of the song, New York Minute, all the story is told in the verses. So I would stand there in the dark, because, the light's on him, and it's dark for the verse, and the lights come up in the chorus when we all sing and stuff. But I'd stand there and I'd just watch him sing New York Minute, and it's such an amazing song, and the lyrics, and I would feel like I was at the show, and I'm just like a spectator at the gig, watching him sing, and sometimes I'd almost have to, okay, you got to remember to come in, because you're on stage. But it was really special. Him, that's such a great song. If you don't know it, I'm sure most of you probably have heard it, but give it a listen again, and how great the lyrics are. And especially around the time I joined, because it's all about it sounds like it's about a finance guy or stockbroker that won one verse, and they found his clothing scattered somewhere down the tracks, and he won't be down on Wall Street in the morning. That lyric, it's heavy. And right when I joined the band was right when the crash happened, and all the Lehman and all those companies were all in a Goldman Sachs, are all a mess. So it was like we would sing that song and people would respond. You could hear that. It was Don had a way of, Dirty Laundry, that's a great song too, right? Like the lyrics, way back in 1982, he's talking about, get the widow on the set and all that. We want dirty laundry. We need dirty laundry, all the just sensationalist kind of stuff. And how poignant is that, So like these guys, they're real visionaries. I watched this week Making a Dark Side of the Moon for probably the 15th time, that classic album series. If you've never seen it, it's so good. But it's the, talking all about the sort of concept album of the existential question, us and them, can humans be humane? And that kind of thing. And how poignant is that? It's like, that was 74. God, man. It's like these guys, they wrote such great stuff. And about the key to me to writing a good song. Sorry, I'm off on a tangent here a little bit. But the key to me to writing a great song, like a really, truly great song that really connects with people, is that it's relatable. So like, you remember the Gautier song, Someone That I Used to Know? Remember when that came out? First of all, it had an amazing melody, and the soaring in the chorus, where he sort of sounds like Peter Gabriel, and soaring melody in the chorus was so great. But who hasn't felt that way, when they go through a breakup, and then the person that you put all of your heart and soul into this relationship or whatever, and things go awry, it doesn't work out, and then they just become somebody that you used to know, and it's like, how the hell did that happen? It's such a great lyric, but everybody could relate to it. And so it was like, and all the imagery in it about how have your friends come by and collect your records. It's just like, oh, that hurts. Like, that's so, those like breakup stuff, so it was so like so great and relatable. So to me, that's the mark of a really great I mean, there's songs out there that are pretty abstract that have become big hits too, but if you can write one that connects with people on a relatable level, and that's what Pink Floyd for sure did with Dark Side of the Moon, and Henley with New York Minute, and Dirty Laundry, and when you can write about things that everybody's feeling. Stealth Parrot says, "Oh yeah, the song by Walk of the Earth." They did that cover. That was so great. The cover was incredible. Yeah. Paul says, "We like your tangents." I get off on tangents, that's for sure. Stealth Parrot says, "Will you do any more songs with Toni Cornell?" I'm sure we will. Yeah. I don't have anything on the books right now with her, but I would love to do more. And anytime, I'm always there for those folks. So there will be more. Yeah. What else we got here? That Gautier song foreshadowed my relationship. Yeah, it was a great song. Can't Stand Losing, somebody says, by the Police. That's just a terrific song too, as well. 100%. Yeah. What else we got here? Great tune, New York Minute. It really is. Joe Neiman says, "I love you telling stories about Chris Cornell." Yeah, always with a smile. Yeah, you got to smile, right? I mean, good memories. Nothing lasts forever, and unfortunately, some people are gone way too soon. But I was, as you guys know, plenty of you are probably my age or older out there. The older you get, it's just, well, this is a finite thing, isn't it? So you gotta try and stay in the light, I guess, right? There's a super chat there. How about the metal guitar you got? Was it your idea or the builder's? I think you mean my Tressart, which is right here somewhere. I think this is the one you mean. It's a pretty wild looking guitar. I don't play this guitar that much, but it is pretty neat. Look at that baby. Looks like it found it at the bottom of the sea, right? It's the Steelcaster, metal body. It's crazy, but it does sound cool. It sounds really cool. And it's my only guitar with a Bigsby and my only with a Filtertron style, TV Jones pickup. So I kind of keep it around, for that. And it's cool. It's got a nice neck. It's a bit of a bear. It's not light, probably 10 pounds. Fun looking though, right? So I like to bust it out every now and then. Good times. I'm going to grab that super chat in just a second. I'll just do a couple more here. Technical question: Strat buzzes when I don't touch the strings, but only in position 1 and 2. Bridge and bridge middle. Ground problem with the bridge pickup. Well, most guitars will buzz when you don't touch the strings because that sort of completes the ground. I don't technically understand why, but when you hold the strings, you're grounding it somehow. So somebody out there maybe can explain it. But you could experiment with different ways of grounding and try and get it quieter. I feel like there's like a fly in here or something. Anyways, it's something to talk to a tech about, but it's normal to experience that. When you take your hands off the strings, it buzzes more. This is insane. This fly is like really. I'll turn on the light in the back of the room here because it's like attacking me. Like a gnat or something. There's Jimmy. Everybody say hi to Jimmy. Would love to see you as Eddie for the much discussed Van Halen tribute with Alex. Love Satch, but you're way better fit. I don't know that that's a thing that was ever gonna come to fruition. If it ever did, wow, what an honor to be a part of that in any way, shape, or form, even just to attend. But to be honest, I just don't know if they'll ever do anything like that, you know? I think it'd be really neat and appropriate to do it the same way that the Chris Cornell tribute was done, which is to say you got a bunch of bands that show up and play music and, you know, maybe the, you know, obviously original members of some sort, and then people sit in with them, you know, and like, it doesn't have to be, you know, it wouldn't have to be like any one person. Obviously, you could have a Satriani or a Nuno Bettencourt, or you could have kind of a house guitar player, I guess, you know, somebody that, and then have other people. I think there's a number of ways that you could do it respectfully, but well, who knows if it'll ever happen. It's up to Wolf and you know, Alex and powers that be, right? So, but thank you. I really enjoy Eddie. I mean, you guys know that he's #1 influence. So, this freaking fly is insane. I think it's all the lights that I've got going here, and so it's like, oh, I got to grab this fly is going to drive me insane. I'm sorry. I'm going to try and not pay attention to it. Doug Rappaport video for Third Power Megfrag demo for the Riot Studio bridge pickup. Interesting concept. Don't know if it works. I'll have to check that out. Sorry, I'm not familiar with that. Javier, PT212 is incredible live. Awesome. Which one did you get? This one or this one? Addicted to the vibe, but with the back a little out. How do you think? The two Neo Cream would sound? I think I knocked 10 pounds off. I like the Neo Creams a lot. The only thing about them is that they are a little quieter, a little less efficient, I found, and a little more broken in sounding. And with the PT15, I found that I wanted a little more out of the speaker because the amp's only 15 watts. So that's the only thing. But if you like a nice greenback, warm tone, I quite like them. So if weight is a primary concern, if you find you're not hurting for headroom, you go for it. You know, I think you'll probably dig it. You could do a similar thing by just getting the Neo Vintage. There's one that's kind of like a V30, I think, or similar, you know, derived from. And then there's the Neo Cream that's more like a greenback. So you could do, if you've got the, you know, this one, the PT15 212 that's got the offset speakers, you could replace the greenback and the V30 with a Neo Cream and a Neo Vintage, I think they're called, and you would have probably a similar sound with less weight. So that might be something to look at. Thank you very much for the super chat. Mike says, thank you, man, for the super chat. You guys are too kind. Your super chats. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Can Wolfie play all Eddie's lead stuff? I don't know. I think he can play some of it. He posted a video of him playing the tapping part from Eruption once. I remember that. I think he's a different kind of guitar player, and he intentionally maybe, you know, does his, you know, his influences were, you know, 90s, 2000s, and I think that's reflected in the way he plays and writes, you know, some of his music and stuff. Obviously I'm sure he knows a lot of his dad's parts, but he tries to intentionally just, I mean, he wants to do his own thing. It's a hard thing being a son or daughter of a very famous person like that and embarking down the same career path, because you're always compared and you know, all that. So it's just a difficult thing. You know, I've played with a number of, you know, I mean, Tony Cornell or Adam Cohen, son of Leonard Cohen, you know, many gigs I've had with these folks. Chris Stills is another one, Stephen Stills' son. Did a little bit with him many years ago. He's a fantastic singer, great guitar player and songwriter in his own right. But, you know, his dad's Stephen Stills, so you're always getting compared and all that. It's difficult. Adam co-produced, or maybe, can't remember if it's a co-production or if he's got sole production credit, but his father's last album before he passed away. That's very powerful. I mean, the fact that, you know, his son was able to, that's a nice, in the nicest possible way to kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, I mean, to, you know, not be compared to his father, but rise to the place where, you know, his dad entrusted production of the album to him. And I think it won Junos and did really well up in Canada. And, you know, kind of coming into his own, you know, and his dad then passed away, you know, passing the torch, so to speak, I guess, you know. And I guess that's what's going on with Wolf too. You know, now he's there for he's and doing his project. So, and I think his dad, I mean, this is common knowledge, but he always says, my father would want me to do my own thing. That's what he would say. Don't do my thing, do your thing, too. And his dad told me, I mean, like, I remember Eddie talking about, before I ever heard Wolf's music, I mean, Eddie was like, wait till you hear it, man. It's crazy. It's like so good. He told me, he goes, I'm almost jealous. That's what I always remember him saying that to me. I'm almost jealous. Like, cause he's so, he can sing, he can play bass, he can play drums, he can play guitar, he can play everything. And Ed, I mean, I think Ed could play drums too, but, as a singer, he's super strong and all that. So he had great respect for him, wanted him to do his own thing. So pretty cool. Patrick Moore, thank you, good sir, for the super chat. I do appreciate that very much. You should have Neil, Sean, or Lukather on the show. I would love to. I guess I know Neil like a little bit. Like I've met him and spoken to him for a while, and then like we gab on Instagram stuff sometimes but DM. But other than that, I don't feel like I know him well enough to ask him. Steve, I could ask. I would think, and I would love to. He's such a sweet guy. He's the best. I'm kind of shy, to be honest, about asking people to be on the show. I'm a little bit like timid about it because especially those guys are, I mean, talking to Kim, that was amazing. Kim Mitchell for me, because he, I grew up like he was a hero. It's like, you want to do my little YouTube show, but maybe I should be more assertive about it, and we'll see. I've been trying to get different guests, and thinking about it, but we'll see what we're doing moving forward. Right now, I'm kind of focused on tour and stuff, because I got tour coming up and I got to fly. It's attacking me. And so I'm really focused on that. Now I'm going to keep doing the show, of course, when I'm out on the road, but we'll see. Maybe it'll end up being some of those bus shows like I do with Classic Rock Show and stuff, but that'll be fun, right? When are you going to make a demo of the Uad Ruby? Well, so at Sweetwater, one of the things that I did is a pretty extensive walkthrough and interview with James Santiago, the designer of the Ruby. And Corey Congilio was there as well, and he played most of the guitar while I held the camera and interviewed James, and we talked about the features and everything. So it's a different kind of video, but it's kind of what you're asking about, I think. And it'll be really great, I think. So I'm going to edit that over the next few days, and so there'll be something this week on the Ruby. Who's playing for you? Who's playing with you? Sorry, this summer in Five for Fighting. So terrific band. First of all, John sounds amazing. I haven't played with him in years. John Andrazik. It's his group. He's really like a solo artist with a band name. And he always has, great players that go out and tour with him to reproduce the music. And so Sean Hurley on bass, who is an unbelievable bass player, super musical, really excited to play with him. He was with John Mayer for a number of years. And I first met him when he was with Vertical Horizon. He was in that band right from the beginning. Toured in 1999 for about a month, opening for Vertical Horizon with the band Blinker the Star. And so I remember being on the road with them back then. I mean, it's 22 years ago. It's crazy. 23 almost. So crazy how long ago. But anyway, so that'll be really fun. Randy Cook on drums, who is just a monster and a Canadian brother. Randy was Kim Mitchell alumni. Played with him. He played with pretty much everybody you can play with in Canada as a hired gun drummer, and then moved to LA and has since. And he's doing like so many different things right now. He's actually playing in Brit Floyd, which is sort of sister group to Classic Rock Show that I work with, and the amazing Pink Floyd. I say tribute. It's more than a tribute. It's really like, because it's just an amazing show. If anybody out there, has anybody seen Brit Floyd? They do such an amazing show, really. If you're into Pink Floyd, with incredible lights and the whole production, and the singers are amazing, and they play Red Rocks, and I just saw them at the Greek. They were great. So Randy's doing gigs with them, as well as playing with Colby Calais, as well as Fight for Fighting. And so he's always on the road doing stuff and sessions. And Sebastian says Sean Hurley is awesome. He is. He's great. He's a sweet guy too. He's really cool. So I'm really excited to, it's a great opportunity for me to be able to go out and do some gigs with such stellar players. I feel fortunate. Jeff says, got your new signature, sir. Now I'm waiting for the new model. What's the wait period? So I don't really know that. The best thing to do would be to ask the dealer if you've got a dealer, if you've ordered one, or if you know a dealer in town says they've got one on order. They'll be able to tell you, the pretty close the estimated delivery when they'll get the guitar. Unfortunately, there is a bit of a wait because it's quality problems, but they're always just back ordered. So Sir is, they don't cut corners in any way, shape, or form. So while it's not a small company, it's also not a big company. So things take a little bit longer, but at the end of the day, you get these great guitars. So, but that's my roundabout way of saying, yeah, ask the dealer and they'll actually have a pretty good idea when they're going to come in, because everything's all scheduled and they can see it when it's going to be built. Have you ever considered using the Synergy preamp system as part of your live rig? Not really. I have it here because I've done videos for them, and I do have the preamp here and the modules. I would if it was like I needed an alternate. When I would do it is if I had a hard rock or metal gig and I really wanted some alternate distortion sounds, because that's the one thing that I feel like it really gives me that's cool. Like, in other words, so like the PT100 is very Marshall. And if I wanted something that was more like an Angle, more like a full range, big fat, grindy modern distortion, anything other than Marshall, it's a nice way to be able to, doing sort of 4 cable with it or with the preamp, and you can hook it up and then the preamp in it replaces the one in your amp. So that would be the time, but I haven't really had an instance like that where I would need that. So that would be the one time if I wanted to say a Soldano or Angle. I really like the Angle modules. The Savage in particular, I thought sounded great for a different kind of distortion than what my PT100 does for a modern kind of grinding kind of. And I remember some of the Deliverance sounded really cool too for that. It's kind of funny because I feel like the Bogners sound more Marshall than a Bogner does, like, for whatever reason, probably because a lot of the sound of a Bogner could be to do with the power amp or something, the way the damping is and the arrangement. But when I tried the Bogner modules, I felt like they were more, it's like good sound, but like more like a Marshall. Didn't sound like a, as different as I would have thought. Not there's anything wrong with that. It's still a good sound, like I say. But the Savage was the one that I found to be really different and have a kind of an interesting sound to it. So we need a Canadian guitarist roundtable with Lifeson, Mitchell, Travers, Thorn, Thornley, Marino, and Emmett. Dude, I'm not. I couldn't be in that camp. I appreciate that, but like, those guys are legends, I was like in junior high or something when, I mean, I'd love to, but I mean, Travers and, Lifeson, Reno, Emmett. I was listening to some Triumph the other day. I hadn't listened to it in a long time, and so I put it on. Man, he could sing high. Rick Emmett. Crazy. He was a really good guitar. He's just a really good musician. He seems like a great guy, Rick Emmett. I would love to chat with him, actually. Maybe I can look into that for my show. I don't know. He just seems like a super cool guy. Okay, there's another super chat there. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. Just a little something for the coffee jar. Thanks. Really digging all your music in the demos. Thank you, especially the Halo delay video. That was easy just because the delay sounded so great. The delay videos are really fun for me because you don't have to play that much. You can play less and let the delay carry on. It's like you just have to play a few notes, and just as long as they're good notes, the cool drum groove, cool bass, and then the delay kind of creates the mood, and it's a little simpler than, I would say it's easier than doing overdrive demos or distortion. you know, get a beautiful clean sound, and then let it go. It's great. Really, speaking of Pink Floyd, I recently saw Gilmore perform "Running Up That Hill" together with Kate Bush. I would love to see that. I didn't know that they did that together. Is it on YouTube? I should check it out. Let me see here. I'm gonna just open a tab and YouTube. See if I can find that. Isn't it cool how good she's doing with that track again? Awesome. Kate Bush and David Gilmour "Running Up That Hill." There it is. So was that? Oh, it's from '87. It's old. It's not like a newer thing. I see. Cool. Well, he's got a Steinberger. I'm looking at the thumbnail. He's playing a Steinberger. That's amazing. So really interesting. Yeah, everybody here, they're making another Steinberger, which is probably really smart. I mean, I think like, you know, the era of headless guitars, and people seem more open these days, and you know, the kids to, you know, headless guitars and the different, you know, with your Strandbergs and your, you know, Abasi and different types of guitars that are kind of forward thinking, different shapes. Seems like a good time to make a new Steinberger, I would say. Let's see. What else we got here? Frank Marino is a monster player. Unfortunately, he has health issues that prevent him from playing now. Is that right? Yeah, I think I heard that years ago. I don't know much about Frank Marino, to be honest. I missed the boat. Oh, Jeff Waters. We were just talking about Jeff Waters the other day with my friend Al. He used to work for Annihilator a little bit, and like I think he road manager mixing them, and we were talking about how great they were, like just really tight band. Do you have any Colin James stories? I don't really. I remember Colin James growing up, you know, but I've never met him or anything like that, or I don't think I ever saw him live. He's a Canadian guitar player, for those out there that don't know Colin James. Kind of like sort of, I guess, blues based, but sort of wrote blues pop songs, right? Blues rock pop. You know, a little like I guess, you know, he was kind of around the same time, or maybe a little later than Jeff Healey, right? You know, he had some hits. Via's using the Synergy Live. Yeah, he's got his signature module. You can actually kind of see it over there, actually, on my shelf. It's hard to see, but it's the green one over there, which I really like, by the way. His module's cool, too, I should mention. The Synergy modules, the ones that I really like were Vi's, because the lead sound is quite different than a Marshall thing. So that's another one that's good. But the clean channel in the Vi module is really nice. It's got a very sparkly, kind of open, it's like Hyper Fender almost, you know, with a sparkly in the scoop and everything. It's really nice sounding clean for that kind of stuff. And the BEBB one, or BBBE, you know, so that you get your Fender and then kind of modded Marshall in one module. That's a nice one too from Frieden. Some good ones there. Scott says, this is, Ben, I got the pedal, the nice Drive A, and I just haven't had a lot of time to spend. I'm a little overwhelmed with pedals, to be honest, right now. So it's nothing personal that I haven't made. I've also got my friend Tracy Gunn sent me his signature pedal, and it's great in a kind of an 800 kind of way. And I just haven't had time. I mean, I'm like, if I could, you don't even want to see the floor right now. The pedals, it's like, you know, there's only so much time to do the work and to play every single, you know, if I make a video or something, it's a day or a day and a half of work. And it's just, there's never enough time to do, at least not the way that I do them, you know, I've found. So it's just tough, but I want to plug it in and spend more time with it. If time, will you, once again, if time, that's very appropriate for what I was just talking about, poignant. Will you do a rundown of your Five for Fighting rig either on tour or after? Yes, I totally will. It's pretty straightforward. Do I have it right here? Here's the board, actually. I can just show it to you right now. and it sounds really good the way that I'm using it. But this is the board that I'm taking out. So I've got now a 65 booster on there. That's a treble boost, basically a range master. I've got the Coco on there, which I love. The Coco Boost is the most underrated pedal, man, for clean and for the mid boost for solos. It just rules. Vintage Phase 90, which I'm using on some stuff. The Echoplex I'm not using on anything right now, but it's just on there. And then the quad. And so these two XLRs will feed the PA. These 2/4 inches right here feed Matrix Power Amp and cabinet. Now, some of you might ask, why is he not using an amp? And the reason is because there's 3 fly dates that I got to do in addition to the main tour. And the fly dates are like what I can fly with. I got to fly with a guitar and I'll probably rent a backup guitar, rent an acoustic, and a Marshall cabinet or something to have sound on stage. And so because I've got 3 fly dates interspersed with the majority of the dates being, the tour, I just decided that I was going to go that way and just keep it simple because I got to be able to drop the stuff in a Pelican case and put it on an airplane to fly to a fly date. So that was the decision that I made on this, but it ended up sounding great. It sounds really good, and I can demonstrate that in a video at some point, what like the tones and stuff. I kind of copied the Halo delay sounds, the Andy Timmons Halo delay sounds in the quad because I really enjoyed that the subdivisions that he had going, the way they cascade into one another, and it really works well for some of the Five Fighting music and kind of ambient. There's a lot of space and beautiful guitar parts in John Androzik's music. And that Halo delay, just I could play these simple parts with it, and it just sounds like really great and kind of ethereal and nice. So I'm making, I can show that in the video, I guess, and how it's a quarter note and a dotted eighth feeding into one another, and then they kind of cascade into it. That's why Andy called it the Halo, but it really works nice. Can we have Sean Wynot and John Button on the show? Man, you're a bass player. Hope you don't lose too many subs from all the bass players. You know all these great bass players. Yeah, Sean Hurley. Wynot is a awesome bass player that has a crazy name because his name's actually like Wynot, I think, something like that. It's a Dutch name. But he just spells it why not because it's easier for, and he's awesome. And then John Button, of course, is great too with the Who and terrific bass players. I know some good bass players. I'm using a real amp and IRs live at the moment, contemplating quad cortex for reduced weight and setup. How did it? Oh, well, there's a lot of questions kind of dovetailing into one another today that are working really well. Yeah, it's a great way to go when you can't have your amp there. I love the immediacy and the having the amp there and the response of an amp and everything, but I must say it's pretty impressive, the quad. It's my so far my favorite when it comes to these types of devices. I'll go so far. Obviously it's on the board, it's compact, it works really good. You can capture your own amps and do all that stuff with it. And I gotta say, like when I'm doing this rig where I'm running the quad into a cabinet, a power amp and a cabinet for on-stage sound, and then also to the PA. It sounds great in the in-ears. It sounds great coming out of the cabinets, and I didn't need to EQ. I just add IRs to the signal feeding the PA, and you get your levels balanced and stuff. And it's just like, well, that just works. It's kind of easy. It's like get work done, It's all about getting work done for me. What's the way I can do it and not have it be a pain in the butt? I can focus on the music and get the work done. And this is what's working for this. I was talking to Rhett Scholl about this, and I mentioned to him that I'd done a gig. It's kind of funny. I might have, did I mention this on last week's show? I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot, but anyway, I was telling him that I did a gig with Mandy Moore in the pop singer in the Philippines around 2003. And I played in front of some really big crowds with a Pod Bean. So I might have brought this up before. I'm sorry if I'm repeating, but it was a Pod XT Bean. And I took it specific for the same reason, because I wanted a consistent rig and I would know how it sounded. And I didn't want to rent an amp in the Philippines. And I just was like, I'm just going to do this so that I've got a little more control over, and it worked great. And he's like, dude, you got to make that video. Like, you played in front of 50,000 people with a Pod XT Beam. People want to hear about that. I thought, this is kind of a cool story. It's here somewhere, and I thought if I can find it, I might be able to even show it, because that's probably the last time I used it, or one of the last times. And I bet my sounds are still in there from almost 20 years ago. You know, and maybe show the presets or something. But that would make a good YouTube video, I think. Rhett's got great concepts for YouTube videos always. He's like, that's a good story. You should tell that story. So anyways, any updates on the tube shortage? You know, I think that for the most part, it seems like folks are kind of working their way around it. I mean, maybe amps have gotten a little more expensive because tubes are more than they were. But you've got the PS Vane factory making now 34s, 606s, EL84s that are supposed to be great, 12AX7s. You know, I do believe they just came out with another 12AX7, like that's a variant on, you know, I don't even know if I'm supposed to talk about that, but whatever. What difference does it make? It looks like a JJ, but sounds better, evidently. And you know, they seem like they're pretty good from what I've heard. Everybody's talking about how great they are. And then you've got the stuff coming out of the EH factory. I don't know exactly how that's working, because obviously it's Russia, and I don't know what's going on with. But there's still tubes getting out of there. They're just way more expensive now. So you know, it's probably the, you know, sanctions, and you know, who knows how they're paying for. I don't know what's happening with that. But you know, personally, if it was up to me, I would say let's just, you know, get PS Vane, because I feel a little better about it, even though that's China. I don't feel great about China either, but it's just kind of how it is now. Now, what I'm most interested in, because I'm you know, having said everything I just said about Pod XTs and things, I'm still a snob, and I would like to see what's going on with the Western Electric folks, because they've been talking about making guitar amp tubes. So does anybody hear anything about that? You know, because I haven't heard anything, but it does seem like people aren't you know, as concerned about it as they were a couple months ago, the tube supply. So people are restocking now. See antique AES, right, or Antique Electronic Supply restock JJ. That's cool. So you get, you know, it's out there, seems like. Have you met Dave Kilminster? I haven't. I would like to meet him one of these days. But John was talking about him the other day. I think he was interested in the bridge that I use on my guitar, the Wilkinson. So I'd like to meet him and chat with him, you know, one of these days. He seems like a really great guitar player. Jay Cameron says, Happy 4th. Happy 4th to you guys out there. And happy 4th to you, Jay. Tubes in my old Mesa are Russian. Yeah, I mean, the majority of tubes were Chinese or Russian over the last 15, 20 years, right? So Western Electric is making tubes. Yeah, I've heard that, but I just haven't heard any updates. They said they're going to do it, but I haven't heard if they've actually turned anything out, or if there's... I thought about contacting them, being like, hey, I'll be your beta tester. You know, or one of them. I should hit them up. Let's see here. Just going back through the chat, seeing what else you guys are talking about. You were talking about Wolfgang's guitar playing over 20 minutes ago. He said that his solos are worked out. They sort of seem more like worked out solos. Like, you know, a little bit more like he's that kind of musician, a little bit more, you know, with his writing. And it's interesting, when I spoke with him, he talked about his guitar playing like he was mainly a drummer. That's what he said to me. I started on drums, he said, and that's what I remember having a conversation with him where he said, yeah, it was my, you know, that's my real, like, I love playing drums, but he liked playing guitar, he liked playing bass. But I remember him telling me that he felt like he had hit a wall with his guitar playing at one point. This is 10 years ago. I had this conversation with him. I remember at his dad's place, but he said, yeah, I felt like I could only get technically so good on guitar, you know? And then of course, you know, you're like going, this guy's probably amazing on guitar, you know? But, you know, he was just being sort of, not self-deprecating, but he was like, yeah, I don't, he's like, I consider myself like, obviously he got so much better because then he went on to, tour for years with Van Halen, play bass and everything. And, so from then till now, he's probably made huge leaps and bounds. But anyway, I think he's a different kind of musician than his father. To me, he's more like a songwriter that uses different instruments as his tools to get his points, to get, obviously he loves playing drums, loves playing different instruments, but he wants to get the songs out. He's a bit more of that kind of, not that his dad wasn't, I mean, he was, but his dad was also more of an improviser, I would think, more of a jammer, improviser. Maybe Wolf's more of like, I'm just waxing, poetic here, but I think that I think he is a bit more like of that headspace, in that headspace. In the studio, not committing to a real guitar amp, recording clean and just changing the amp to fit the mix is superior than committing to any expensive real guitar amp. Am I wrong? I don't think there's any right or wrong. It might be right for you, but it doesn't mean that it would work for someone else. I'll give you an example. We couldn't have had Van Halen with doing it that way. There'd be no way, because playing off the tone that he had and getting the tone at the source was such a big part of his, he wasn't a preamp kind of guy. The effects into the front end of the amp, that would be something that you can't do with reamping really properly, all that kind of stuff. So it doesn't work for everybody, the reamp thing. Personally, I don't do it. I don't reamp. I've worked for producers where they'll take a DI off my guitar as a safety thing. We'll get the tone. It'll be good. And then like, okay, let's plug in this DI so that I can print a direct track in case I want to change the amp sound later. Okay. But I doubt that they ever did. I don't know. Or maybe they did. I don't know. But it's common these days, the reamp thing. It's just, I always like to get the sound at the source when I'm I'm a little more old school. Like I think about the Beatles and 4 tracks and how they used to like bounce tracks and make commitments. Just get the thing done. You leave yourself all these choices, and then like then mixing becomes this like, now we got to pick. I tell you what, even when I do like I used to use Mix, or what was it called, Mix IR2 or whatever for IRs in the computer. So I print the signal coming out of my amp out of the reactive load, but not with speaker simulation, right? So it's the raw guitar amp signal into Logic. And then on the channel in Logic, I'll have a plug-in doing the IRs. And sometimes it would get, if you change the location on your drive of where you're pointing to the IRs, the session would pop up and there'd be no speaker sim on the guitar anymore. And then you'd have to relink it all, and does that make sense? So like all of a sudden your sounds are all DI and you're like, whoa, what happened? And it's like the IR plugin can't find the file or maybe you don't have the drive plugged in that had your IRs on it. And then you're like, oh, I was always just like, why didn't I just print this? Like I'm doing it on the channel. I mean, there's lots of great, that's how Two Notes works. But I always like to keep it like with Wall of Sound. But if I can print it, I will. I just like it. I like printing it and committing and getting the sound, making sure the sound is good as the song's coming together and printing it. Too many options later. I like making decisions. It's less to worry about later. Yeah, in my opinion. Great demo with Tim Pierce. I had so much fun with Tim. Do you mean the Rhett video that we did with the different amps? That was really fun. It was a busy couple days when we did those, but it was fun. It was great hanging with Tim out and Rhett and all those guys out at Sweetwater. Making sure the sound is good, says Paul. Yeah, I like to kind of commit, I do. Chrissy says Randy played with Phil X. That's right. Yeah, Randy has played with Phil X. They probably knew each other from Toronto, I bet, from going way back. Toronto, Canada. How loud do you have to play when you demo pedals and come up with those great riffs? Hey, thanks. I'm glad you like them. I don't play that loud in here. Burn my ears out. Sometimes I catch myself like I should probably turn the speakers down. It's a little loud. you know. But so I play this way sitting a lot, and then I'll notice my left ear's ringing a little bit from this, you know, speakers hitting that ear and not this one. It's like, that's not good. I try and keep it down, you know. If it sounds good and you can get the vibe, when I'm doing solos and rhythm parts, you got to get it up to a certain level so you can feel the groove and then like lock in and be inspired. But you just want to put it at that limit where you don't have to go any louder, you know. Louder than that is pointless, I think, and burns you out. You know, if a lot of these things I do in one day, so if I'm listening really loud, I'm going to burn my ears out, and everything's going to end up sounding real bright because I'm going to mix late in the day after playing all day and never, you know, burning my ears out and be adding high end to things too much, and try and keep it under control. So, Blues is Blues says that you mentioned the time it takes you to do video. It is worth it. The demos you do are the best. Thank you. Yeah, I just sort of have my little method, and that's the only way I know how to do it. And I can take anywhere from a day to a few days, you know, depending on what the gear is. But yeah. Your SLO tone during Rhett's amp video was excellent. Thanks. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. You know what's a funny thing about that? If you guys have seen that video I did with Rhett on dialing in amps with Tim Pierce and Rhett, the cabinet that we play the most through, I think, the first one, as I'm, you know, we're getting the sounds. Oh, by the way, I said, before I talk about the cabinet, I said something wrong in that video. So I want to set the record straight on that. I said the Warren Haynes mod was a depth mod. That's not true. I got mixed up. The Warren Haynes mod was no bright cap on the volume control. Depth mod is a different Soldano mod. So I was talking about the depth control on the amp, and I said it was the Warren Haynes mod. I was just confused. That's not the case. Depth mod and Warren Haynes mod were two different things. So sorry about that. A little misinformation there. I asked Rhett to maybe pin a comment or something and say, Pete messed up, because I do mess up. But two separate mods. So the cabinets that we were playing through, you know, it was just like cabs in an isolated room with the door open, kind of cracked open so we could hear. And it sounded good, the cab I was playing through. And then I'd switch to this other cabinet, which I think was the Soldano cab with V30s. And you hear me switch to it in the video. Well, in the room, it sounded worse, the other cabinet, which was maybe the Soldano cabinet. It was like, it's got no low end. I don't know if I like that. So let's go back to the other one. But on the recording, because we were going so fast, you know, on the recording, it sounded to me superior, you know, the second cab. So it's just to let that be a lesson, you know, the way the cab sounds in the room when the mics are up close, you know, the way it's reflecting, where it was sitting. I think it was up top and the other one was on the floor, and that probably had a lot to do with it. You know, just remember being in the other room and flipping the speaker switch and going like, oh, that cabinet doesn't sound as good as this one. But actually, it sounds better, I think, in the recording. So in close mics. So check it out and see what you think. But V30s tend to work well with Soldanos. Friedman always says that 75s actually work well with Soldanos as well. And I could kind of see that, I think. You know, different speak. It's not, I like Soldanos through greenbacks, and I always like greenbacks, but I think that V30s actually kind of suit the amp and make them shine a little more, and maybe the 75s too. Dave always said that. I guess Eddie Van Halen, when he got his Soldano, liked it through 75s. And there was a cabinet that a rented cab or something, I can't remember, from Andy Browers or something, and he had this cabinet with 75s, and that's what he ended up using with his SLO a lot when he was, so it's just kind of interesting, like when you think about it, he's such a greenback guy. And you know, that he kind of switched up his whole thing. I'll head down to the bottom of the chat here. Speaking of Rhett, do you have footage of y'all at Sweetwater? I do, yeah. I'm going to make kind of just like a wrap-up video. It's kind of a bunch of snippets of different stuff, but I've also got a video to make. The Atreides, I think is how you say it. The Dunlop guys ran me through that pedal, which is really cool. It's been out for a little while, but it's an insane kind of fuzz with envelope stuff on it. So I'm going to put out a video on that. I put out the video that I did at UA on the Ruby. Video is sure about a little bit sort of similar. It's very just geeky informational video, but a little bit similar to what I just did with the in-ears yesterday about wireless. And because I think there's some confusion with wireless with you know, any wireless, like what do I need? Because you know how countries are always changing the frequencies that, you know, are regulated certain ways and stuff. And then you're just like, oh, great, I bought this wireless 2 years ago. Now I can't use it in France or whatever. So it's about that, and specifically with a lot of information about Shure in the United States, and like if you're touring regionally, if you're just playing clubs, if you're touring the whole country, like what wireless you should maybe get is kind of. So I'm gonna make that video as well. So a bunch of stuff. It's just editing. Got to get into it. That will hopefully be good info if you're looking for a wireless. I know it's kind of like geeky specific niche information, but I feel like it's good information for that I haven't seen out there. I heard that the boutique amp distribution SLOs were voiced more for V30s compared to the Mark I SLOs. I don't really think that's true. To be honest, man, you can make them sound exactly the same. I've done it. I mean, there's a new one sitting right there, right? And between that one and another the number 13 one, I think it is, that Dave Friedman has. I mean, I've directly AB'd them, and I could dial them in to be so close that it's like can't really tell the difference. Sounds exactly the same, basically. So I don't really believe that they sound different. I suppose I could make that video, but it's is the fuzz similar to the screwed circuits crazy fuzz? You mean are you talking about the Atreides? Different. I would say it's a little more modern and massive sounding. It's monophonic still, but it's more. You know how a fuzz factory is different than a high gain fuzz face type or something. That's, I think, the difference. That the screwed circuits one does sound crazy, but it still sounds very 60s to me in a way. It's got a vintage kind of character to it, I think. So anyway, what else we got here? Let's see. Horst sent me a super chat. Thank you, good sir. Appreciate that. All the way from Europe. Thank you. Daniel's talking about my high watt demo that I did, DR103. Have a happy, safe musical 4th. Thanks, Daniel. Have a great 4th. Yeah, I really enjoyed playing through that, and it made me want a high watt. Finally kind of got it. I was like, all right, it records really great. For that sound that I was doing in the video, it's just like, well, that sounds cool. Something I would like to have around. And Macaulay's asking about top wrapping a Les Paul. Anybody ever done that? That's where the strings go around the top of the tailpiece and then over. I could never successfully get that to happen. I guess I would need to take it to a tech, because I could never figure out how to get the tension right and everything on the bridge and the height of the bridge, and it just didn't work for me. I tried doing it a couple times, and it wasn't. I was like, forget it. Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Guitar for Dummies, Steven Wilson said recently the world doesn't need more music. He says some weird shit sometimes, that guy. I really like his stuff that I've heard, but like, okay, don't make more music then, if you don't feel like it. But I don't know. It's kind of annoying, to be honest. He sort of trashed Eddie Van Halen in a thing, or just said, he didn't really trash him, but he said, I don't know, I'm indifferent. I don't really find him influential at all. And he just was kind of flippant about it right after he passed away. And then Wolf was like, damn, like, I'm a really big fan of this guy. And that sort of hurt. And then he kind of, issued an apology. And he's just kind of one of these guys that says a lot of stuff that, I mean, whatever, dude, I don't know. If you don't feel like, that's just like depression talking or something to me or something. I don't know. I'm being kind of judgmental right now, but it's like, it's just kind of annoying. The world doesn't need more music because I say it doesn't. It's like a lot of people derive a lot of pleasure from music and get a lot. I guess that's what it is. It's like, it's something that brings solace and joy, and it's a way to communicate beyond spoken language. And it's hard to put a price tag on that, or I mean, just because you're not enjoying it or you feel like there's too much out there doesn't mean that there's not an 8-year-old kid or a 12-year-old kid that's getting turned on to rock for the first time, or country or whatever, and getting their mind blown and is totally into it by some new song that they heard. So it's just such a stupid thing to say. Actually, I'll come right out and say that. I don't know. I don't want to like whatever. I don't want to start some beef with him, but come on, man. What do you mean? I don't know. I guess I should see the comment before I get so, but that just pissed me off, I guess, when I read that right now. Almost like, why do you say stuff like that? In your opinion, obviously it's in his opinion, but it's such a kind of like, like, I don't know, it's goofy. Got a PV Classic and a 412 Marshall with greenbacks. Want to add a Helix FX effects. Good idea. PV Classic, 412 Marshall with greenbacks. Want to add a Helix FX effects. Yeah, I mean, you could use it for a cable. I'm not sure how well it'll work with the loop on a Classic. You may have to do some buffering, or maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know. You got to give it a try and just see if it works. You could just put because the Classic has a loop, right? I think PV Classic. It's been a long time since I've seen a Classic, so I just can't remember. But you could put it either in front, or you could put it in the effect loop as well, and not even do 4 cable. Just use it for delay and reverb and stuff like that in the effect loop. And that would be cool. You might even be able to channel switch it with the relay switching on the Helix. I'm not sure. It works with some amps and not with others. But the best way to do it is just to try. So give it a go and see if it floats your boat. Yeah. He didn't mean it in a bad way. Watch the video. Well, how did he mean it? Can you explain it? I don't know. Maybe read the actual comments. Yeah, I guess I should. But if the actual comment is the world doesn't need more music, what does that mean? I don't know. Explain it to me. Somebody go watch it, and then, because I can't, because I'm doing the show right now. But what's the context, I guess, is more important. I don't know. I guess that's how disinformation gets started, or rumors or things, right? Somebody said this, and then I respond to it, and then I should probably go listen to it. You're right. Fair criticism. Thanks for all you do. Familiar with The Warning, Three Sisters from Mexico? Yeah. And the drummer's insanely. Yeah, I follow that lady on the Instagrams. She's really good. Yeah, they're cool. I couldn't tell you that much about them, but I did follow. Have you checked out Overloud THU plugin? Thank you for the super chats, by the way, you guys. You guys are keeping the coffee flowing over here. The THU plugin, last time you said you had it for review, but we never heard back from you. It's just another one that I haven't done yet, and they probably, they sent it to me to do, so my first impression of it was that there's a lot, and it reminded me a bit of Amplitude in the way that there's a lot of parameters and a lot of stuff. And then I remember they had this new cabinet sim, and I remember I was trying to dial it in, and it was cool, but then I remember just loading an IR, the IR loader, and it's really cool. And I going, well, I think I like that better than the super cabinet thing that it had if I just loaded in a Celestion or something. So I kind of got like, I was feeling like I was getting out in the weeds on it a little bit, and then I just got busy doing other things, and I didn't end up, knuckling, bearing down making the video. So it's my fault once again. These things happen to me sometimes, but anyways, I should look at it again and check it out one more time, and maybe I have the wrong notion about it. Maybe it's simpler than I think it is. But let's see. I think he means there's so much great music already. Maybe go discover something from the past. I get what he meant, I think. Yeah, but what about people that want to make music now? We don't do this for, like, it sounds selfish, but I make it for me, like, that's why it's my way of staying sane, honestly. I really enjoy writing music, so I enjoy creating it and coming up with something out of nothing. And when you're sitting there, and then 5 hours later, there's this thing, and it's like, where did that come from? That's the part of my, so maybe he's just saying, well, people should do that for themselves, and I don't know, whatever, and not, there's enough good stuff out. Maybe it was coming from a positive place, like, there's so much great music, there's enough, we don't even need to make more. But the reason to make it is kind of a selfish sort of you're pleasing yourself, really, aren't you? You derive pleasure out of like a artistic act. It's like drawing. I mean, there's probably enough drawings in the world too. There's beautiful paintings everywhere, right? There's enough. We don't need to make any more. Experience some of the ones that are already there. I don't know. So whatever, Yeah, let's see. Saw you in Destin with Mitch Malloy's Van Halen gig. Are you going to do more shows? We've definitely talked about it. We haven't nailed down anything else, but it's quite possible. Never tried Satra or any song on a Friedman BE. Never had difficult to play fast legato on that amp. From Fabio. Basically a BE is just it's a Marshall circuit that's modded to Dave's. It's a refined tuned Marshall circuit, so it wouldn't be any harder, I don't think, than any other amp. That's kind of. I mean, I suppose like a Mesa or something. They're like easier to play sometimes because they have that liquidy gain for Satriani, but you can kind of get there by adding a pedal, which Joe did a lot anyway. I think, like kind of a drive of some sort into. If you're not feeling like it's easy to do legato, just add something in the front to give you a little bit of like a screamer or something, and it'll fatten the mids, tighten the bass, and give you all the more harmonics and all that stuff, and it'll be like easier. Well, that's interesting. Stealth Parrot says THU has a great Rockman plugin. RJ covered it. That's neat. I mean, a Rockman is something I find useful for that certain tone that they do. It's such a unique sound. So, yeah. What else we got here? Let's see. What are you guys talking about? You really need to watch the video Steven Wilson did about too much music, because you've come off bad with that comment. Well, I already said that maybe I was being judgmental, and that's fair criticism, that I should watch it. So what more do you want me to do? I'm sorry. It just pissed me off in the moment when somebody said, so-and-so said, and I responded like people do. I just happened to be on the internet right now, and maybe I was being flippant. Fair enough? Exactly. What do you think is the most versatile overdrive? Well, there's a number of them out there that do, like there's an RJM that has a ton of different overdrive circuits in one pedal that is all analog but digitally controlled, that has presets. So that would be one. There's another one called the Electron, I believe, that I did a video of years ago that was similar. It had TS9, clonny stuff, distortion, all kinds of stuff in it. That would be quite versatile. This one is pretty darn versatile. That's the Chase Bliss with the faders. You guys seen those? It's got MIDI. You can store presets. This is a germanium and a silicon fuzz, as well as a boost, as well as an overdrive with different circuits that you can. I mean, it's very versatile. So there's that. Sorry. Let's see here. What else we got? What's the best age for a guitar player? Whatever age that you want to play guitar at. Whatever age you're inspired to, Do you think that with age you play better or worse? Well, I mean, with age, some people seem to have no problem playing into their 90s, Other folks, the physical thing, it can decline. But the whole thing is if you're still deriving pleasure out of it, I mean, Peter Frampton sounds amazing, Jeff Beck sounds amazing, like as good as he ever. So there's no hard and fast rule, I don't think. I think it depends, on a lot of factors. How inspired you are, maybe the best age to play guitar is like 8, because you're just like, I just learned how to play this Metallica riff or whatever, and it sounds like you're just super stoked. So, Al Di Meola sounds amazing. Yeah, it's like, it's a lot of factors. Okay, what else we got here? what's my next pedal? Got the Dunlop Echoplex and a Freak Out. Both are keepers. Really dig the Timmins delay. I don't know, maybe a mod. I mean, I love my Mobius, you know, for getting me almost any, you know, it's a pretty decent univibe sound, I think. Vibe freaks will balk at that, but I think it's great. And the chorus, the flange, the filtered stuff. I mean, there's so many sounds in there. So something like a Mobius would be good if you've got a delay and a Freak Out already. Yeah. Okay. What else? Ever tried the Solo Dallas Schaefer pedal? Yes, I have. I lent it to somebody, and a funny thing happened where they sort of thought I was giving it to them as a gift, and so I never got it back because I was too I didn't have the heart. I have a lot of pedals and stuff. I was like, if they're enjoying it, but I did want it still. So, but I still have my tower here, so it's supposed to be very similar. Do you take care of the health of your hearing? I just try and not beat up my ears too much. The main thing I do, is I try and not stand too close to the drums now, and then I adjust my amp accordingly. So if I can get away from the kit, like I used to do gigs where I was close to the drums all the time. The crash is just right there. And it's insane how loud cymbals are. And not to mention the snare. I mean, it's like they're loud, you know, but a crash cymbal is like, it'll just, kill you. So, Crash Ride in a rock band where guys really nailing that kind of thing. So I try and get away from the drums on stage. Not that I don't want to go over and rock out with the drummer, I do, but if I'm using in-ears or something, that's okay, then makes it easy. I mean, check out the video I did on ASI in-ears yesterday, because that's part of what I love about, about those. But anyway, that's the main thing is try and check your place on stage. And if the drums are super loud, like wherever you have to stand, you might want to, maybe plexi or, like panels or in-ears could be a way, and like the ones I'm using now, I can still hear the ambience and stuff. And so it's not a factor where, it's like an active earplug in some ways almost. So there's a couple ideas. Okay. What else? There's a super chat there I got to get to. Why not Floyd type of bridge in your great guitars? What don't you like? I like Floyd's on some guitars. I just don't like them on my main guitar. I'm fine. I'm not like a dive bomber crazy, So the bridge that I use, I love the tone of a bridge with a block and the strings through the block and all that. Kind of traditional, either 2-post or 6-point trim. I just think they sound really good. It's a little bit more of a Floyd sounds different somehow to me. So there's that, and just the whole Floyd thing, like the feel of it, and they have a different feel and a different action. I like it, especially if I'm playing Van Halen or something. I'm all about a Floyd, because it's like, even though Eddie arguably is some of the greatest tones were the early days before the Floyd and all that, probably the greatest tones. If you're going to play Van Halen on stage, it's just so helpful to have the walking bridge, because there's a lot of dive bombs and a lot of crazy stuff, and it helps keep you in tune. And it's like, even the Wilkinson bridge that I use isn't quite, I don't want to say up to the task, but I always say it's 90 to 95% of the way to a Floyd. Well, it's that final 5% that'll kill you in the Van Halen thing, so anyways, yeah, so that's all. I just for what I do, the Wilkinson works great. If you're not dive bombing and killing the thing with the Wilkinson, it keeps me in tune and it gives me everything I want out of a tremolo, while still having a block and the traditional sort of setup and the look and everything. I like the kind of traditional, the way they look. So there's some reasons. Not anti-Floyd though. I've got a number of guitars with Floyds, and for that thing, they're really cool. The way Britt pounds those drums can't help your hearing. Yeah, she's like the animal back there. I just bought her a t-shirt, actually. It's got animal on it. So she's got a killer gig. Did I mention she's playing drums with Demi Lovato, and Demi's coming out with an all rock record. I thought some of you guys have probably seen her she played on the Tonight Show a while ago, but she's going to do Kimmel coming up, and You know, a bunch of stuff she's got. Another Tonight Show, I think, appearance, and then full tour and stuff. She's on her way to. I'm like, you're gonna be a rock star, and you're gonna forget about us all. You know, we'll be by the backstage door. Can we come in? Hey, can I just say hi? Oh, security, get those people out of here. Yeah. Boss Blues Driver, the most underrated pedal. You know, I really like the Blues Driver too. I think it's a really good pedal, and I agree it is somewhat underrated. You can use it in a way that is really cool, where it's not just a distortion. Like when you turn it on, it's a little like a Jan Ray in some ways. Maybe it doesn't sound exactly the same, but you know what I mean. It's kind of a lower gain pedal, but with a thickener effect. And you can do this with the Jan Ray, where you turn it on and then you roll the volume on the guitar down. It gives you kind of a fuller sound than your guitar would into the clean amp, but it's not noticeably overdriven necessarily, or it's lightly overdriven. But you know, you can kind of use it as a thickener in a really cool way. So I really like the Blues Driver too. I think it's a very cool pedal. Yeah. Yes to Blues Driver comment, says Craig. Yeah, it's cool. I like Floyd tone. I mean, my guitars with Floyd's, the sort of Charvel style, the EVH ones that I have are really cool. And I use the modern that I have here. It's tuned kind of permanently in drop C sharp. And so I use it for heavy stuff and really quite enjoy it. What compressor are you using these days, says John? I've got the you're saying it's too much for what you need. I think you might really like the Woodshed, the Andy Wood signature compressor from Sir, which Andy always really liked the Carl Martin. And so I think they sort of started with that sound and then changed things and added features and built different things. So it's similar to that. It's just a really great, like, it can be quite transparent, or you can do obviously compressed things with it. So I really like the Woodshed. I've got on my board. I was using a Wampler Mini Ego. That was great for a long time too. I tried the Woodshed, and it's just like, yeah, this is awesome. So I'm using it. Thanks for the super chat, John. Appreciate that. Have you played the Sir Ombre? I have. Is there enough clean headroom for studio use? It depends on your guitar and what your application is, and what you consider clean, I guess. You know, it's a bit of a proto Marshall kind of thing. You know, it's not. We're getting into, you know, almost with that type of amp and circuit, like it's, to me, not that far off in some ways from like a JTM 45 kind of sound, or, you know, there's definitely some, like you plug it into a 412 and you turn it up and it's kind of like, it's kind of Marshall-y, you know? So it's got some grind to it. But if you use a telly or single coils, you know, if you've got a Strat with treble bleed or something, you can roll it down and get some clean. Sure. It's not really made for that though. You know, it's made to do the first two ZZ Top albums, that tone. So that's kind of the idea. But it's a dynamic and really great sound. If you're expecting blackface Fender, it's not for you. You know, if you're expecting great American meets what ended up being British, what we think of as British distortion, it'll go there for sure. Is there a PT40 in the works? Yeah, 40, 50, something. We actually worked on it earlier in the week, and it's really great, and I love it. And the idea, anyway. I don't have that amp yet, but there's things that we're working towards, you know. So, and I think it's gonna be really cool. Yeah, some new stuff. You know, without giving it all away, I think I want to have the option of a lower gain sound that guys can turn up the, you know, so you got channel 2 and you want kind of more plexy thing, right? I think for some people, they feel like, say on the 100, you know, in the past, that you got to turn the gain down to like 9 o'clock or whatever, which is fine. You know, you can do that. But for some people, you know, we're going to probably give some options for switching, you know, to get a more of a plexi thing, if that's what you want, you know. And then I also want to have some different bright cap options and stuff, some different voicing kind of things that allow you to tailor a little more than what we've had in the past for different sounds. That's all, you know. And yeah, that's it. So we were working on that. On stage, low volume 412 versus IR. Well, I'm kind of doing both these days. So I still love a cabinet on stage for feedback and for a little bit of the vibe of flapping my pants just a little bit, but IRs to the PA. That's kind of what I do. So if it's got to be one or the other, I would probably mic. I still like a cab on stage. So if you give me the choice, like, hey, we can't do IR, I don't know why that would be, but we've got to use mics on stage on the cab. Be like, all right, let's do that. You know, does that make sense? I hope so. So at 1:24, I'm going to hang for another 15 or so, and then I'm going to go get some lunch and get a haircut. My hair is getting too long on top. It's falling down. Blues driver, no cut in the mix very well. Well, it depends what you're doing. Like I say, if you, not necessarily for like a full-on drive sound, but if you hit it and you turn the volume down on your guitar, you get a really cool augmented clean almost that's thicker. So for playing like bluesy, not necessarily obviously overdriven, it can sound really great. Probably works better with single coils than humbuckers. Yeah. Somebody's asking an Andy Timmons question. No, sorry, I'm not sure what he was using for electric gypsy. I'm not sure. Henrik, what's up, man? Thank you. I found your video on cables very interesting. It stirred up some controversy. It was like a lot of people, cables don't matter, et cetera, but I don't know. It's all there for you to hear. One guy was really like dismissive, and I guess I'm just like kind of annoyed with that kind of BS these days. Like I have less patience for but he's like, I'm an electrical engineer and da 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 da, and this is the way they on their chart with voltage, and it's stupid. And he was just very like, oh, give me a break, like you can hear anything over YouTube compression anyway, and one of those comments. And I was like, I don't know, dude, I can hear it, and like a lot of people can hear it, and if you can't hear it, then like maybe it means you should go get your hearing checked, or maybe it just means that you're tone deaf. I mean, it's obvious in the video. It's not like it's like, I don't know how much more obvious it could be. There's no YouTube. I mean, he's like, oh yeah, if you go read his comment, it was just so like, I don't know. It's just like, you know what, dude? Like if you don't believe in it, I'm an electrical engineer, and this doesn't make. Sometimes people think too much with their brains and not with their ears. They don't listen, and that always pisses me off. It's like, just listen, man. Do you hear the difference? Okay, if you don't, well, a lot of people do, and I do. It's not. It's kind of like night and day different. Like it's the kind of thing that non-musicians would notice. It's that much difference if you haven't watched the video. And it's fine if you don't hear it or you don't care. Like, but it's pretty hard to, like I could hear a difference, and I'm deaf. See, my knees hurt. You're always talking about how you can't hear, and so if you heard it. I'm going to go with you, my friend, as being the arbiter of, because you say you're deaf. So it's definitely, you're not, you can't be that deaf if you heard it, because that's top end, the differences, right? So it's pretty obvious. And so it was just such a dumb comment, but maybe I shouldn't even read comments. I don't know. It's so annoying sometimes, all these know-it-alls, It's like, make your own damn video then. Show me how it doesn't make any difference. To, use a 5-foot cable and then 100-foot and show me how it sounds the same. It's impossible. So anyways, or whatever, So was Gearfest a lot quieter than NAMM? At times. I mean, it's not like a NAMM show, it's smaller, so, but there was plenty of people cranking up stuff. The guys at the MXR booth were definitely cranking the Atreides. You'll see in the video through Marshall's. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Is it more pleasant to play a perfect guitar like Sir or PRS, or fight with an imperfect one like a Strat or Les Paul? I mean, it's easier for me to play a Sir or PRS, but there's a certain, I don't discount. I don't want to fight my instruments, generally speaking, but there is a thing to high action, heavier strings. It's just different. It can make you play in a different way that's a little more deliberate, slower, sometimes better vibrato, because you kind of can't go as fast, so it sounds cool. playing Michael Thompson's guitar at his studio in the video I did with Tim Pierce over there was really an eye opener because the action was so high. It was like what I would consider almost like bottleneck action. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is really high, but I could play it, and I just played differently, kind of a little more deliberate, a little slower, fewer notes, and I quite liked it, you know. So Fabio says, why did Racer X split? Like back in the 80s? I think probably because Mr. Big happened. I could be wrong about that, but I think the opportunity came up for Paul to do Mr. Big with Billy, and you know, that's the rest is history, I think, you know, because that was right around the same time. Sorry, I didn't really answer this question from Henrique. I just went on a tangent. But anyways, that's my memory of it. Is that, okay, by 88, I think I saw them open for Rush on the Presto tour. And, you know, 87, I mean, Racer X was still a thing. So I'm sure it was just a career opportunity that he felt like he had to do a major label band, you know. And obviously they went on to have some hits, To Be With You and stuff. It was a big song. And so it was probably a good move. Racer X it's a little bit more of a niche, you know, shred metal, kind of niche, you know. So fun though. I really enjoyed Racer X. Found your videos of cables to be interesting. I'm going to answer this question now. Made me think of a fully populated board and the effect of lesser well-sorted cables. Well, on a board, the main thing to keep in mind, Henrique, is whether or not you got a buffer. So like if you've got for example, a TC Polytune with a switchable buffer, you can either have a true bypass or with the buffer on. That'll really negate the effect of lesser cables, or like to a great degree when you hit a buffer, everything after the buffer is now, you know, your signal's low impedance from there, and you're not going to get that capacitance effect because of the impedance. It's all about impedance. So you want to use good cables no matter what, and for, you know, for many different reasons. One of them being like, I don't like shorts and things breaking, and, you know, but so a good quality cables are good quality cable for the most part usually means low capacitance, as well as like Neutrik or Switchcraft ends, and, you know, it's good stuff. So you don't have to get too crazy about it, but the main thing that you just to be aware of was the cable from your guitar. If you don't use a wireless, the cable from your guitar to your board, or the cable from your guitar to your amp, if you plug straight in, that cable, before you hit any kind of buffering or anything like that, is the one that's going to affect the sound. And there's differences, and I think I showed that in the video, you know. Anything over 18 feet, they say, you know, I can hear, I mean, there's a big difference to me between a 6-foot or a 10-foot cable and a 18-foot cable. I can definitely hear the difference. With every foot, you get more capacitance. The capacitance is distributed equally along the length of the cable. So with every foot, what you're doing is losing a little bit of, you know, top end getting sliced off, and you're pushing that resonant peak a little lower, like I talk about in the video. And that's why with the Belden can seem like there's more apparent upper mids, and it can sound like a little juicier in the upper mid range if you're using distortion. Dave Friedman likes that with the Belden cable. So it depends what you want, you know. Yeah. One more super chat. There are two more, actually. Speaking of EVH, any plans on follow-up conclusion to the EVH deep dive pickup video? I don't think so. I've kind of done my EVH tone searching thing. I feel like I've kind of wrung that one out to the I mean, you know, to me, it's mostly in the hands. After making those videos and doing everything I did, then I went and did that gig with Mitch, and I went, you know what? Here's what I'm going to use: flanger, phaser, Echoplex. I can either use the SL68 or I can put it in the Quad Cortex. I'll use greenbacks, and I'm kind of fine with the guitar with the Wolfgang pickup in it. You know, the Stripe guitar. It's not even the right bodywood. It's made out of basswood, and it's mostly in my hands and the way that I play. And if I practice a lot and really work hard on it, I can kind of sound like that. I can't compare myself to that guy ever. He came up with it. He was an innovator. He's my number one influence. Amazing. But if you want to play a gig and get the song, the main thing is, and my point is that I have to work hard as hell to do it. But if I really practice hard, most of the tone is in the hands and the way that you play, you know. And so if I really practice hard, I can at least, I feel like, get to a reasonable facsimile there of what it's supposed to sound like and stuff. And the gear sort of becomes a little bit secondary. You know, when you hear Al Estrada do it, he's really amazing at it too. He doesn't use exact, you know, he's got, I think his guitars are Alder mainly, I think. And, you know, different super strats and stuff. And he uses, I think mainly his amp is a modern Marshall that was modded by Friedman. But it's an SLP, you know, it's a 90s one or something. And, you know, he slaves it and he does different stuff, and he sounds amazing doing that stuff, you know? So, how close does it need to be? You know, I guess, you know, there'll never be another Eddie's. So, yeah. What is for you the perfect PAF sound? Alnico 5 or 2 or low output? I don't know. I mean, I to be honest, I don't know that there's a perfect PA. You know, there was different ones. They use different magnets. It's more a combination of the sum of the parts. So like I don't have a PAF in the bridge of my 335. It's a low output patent number. There's a PAF in the neck, but the bridge pickup is a low output patent number. It's a 7 point something K. That guitar just sounds amazing. And part of it is the low output. And how it opens. And yeah, unpotted is a thing. The pickups be more microphonic and kind of, they do tend to sound a little more alive when they're not potted. Try and play them on stage with gain though. It's a real pain in the ass. But you know, when you play a good, like you know, I've played a handful of 50s Les Pauls over my life, like 57, 58, 59, 60. And when you play a good one and it's got that open thing where there's just really great top end, and you know, they just have this amazing thing, you know, that when you play one that's good, they just do it. And it's like, that to me is it, I guess. That or my 335 is really close. I kind of like T-tops and patent number, you know, in 335s. So I love that sound. I mean, to me, it's actually more expressive. You know, my 335, that guitar almost got its own fan base. People love it when I play that thing. It's got its own sound and character. And Wolfgang really likes them too. And I found it interesting watching Wolfgang's gear, you know, rig rundown with Premier Guitar, where they were talking about the pickups that they used in these new hollow body EVH guitars that he's using, and how the pickups they settled on something lower output because it seemed to open up the sound and have more, let the guitar speak more and have character. Well, that's what I hear out of them. So anytime you hear that, like, it doesn't really matter if it's Alnico 5 or 2 or it's the sum of the parts when you play one of those guitars, and it sounds amazing. Now, you know, we've got now an Alnico 2 Thornbucker that's a hotter kind of, you know, but still on the hairy hot edge of PAF tone. And we've also got the Alnico 4 for the bridge. The reason I like the 4 and the 5 set, the original Thornbucker set, is because they balance perfect. So you play a lot of Les Pauls and stuff, you know, the neck pickup will sound dark and the bridge sounds great, or the bridge sounds, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to get them balanced. So I found that with the 5 in the neck and the 4 in the bridge, which totally was a Gil Yarn thing, it's just this great balance of the magnets. You might be able to get it to a similar place with a 2 and a 5, or a 2 and a 4 maybe. But anyways, it's just what we ended up with, and I love the balance of Thornbuckers. I always think a low output PAF sounds nice, but I always end up with a medium output and higher. Well, you know, on stage they feel a little juicier, and you've noticed with Thornbuckers I've gone that way too, right? Like, so I kind of mirror that with we started with the original Thornbucker, and then we went to Thornbucker Plus, Alnico 4, just a little bit hotter wind, and now I'm hotter than that, Alnico 2. So, you know, magnet's a little warmer, but I've been generally sort of trending a little bit hotter. And the reason is just, yeah, it's kind of fun to play hotter pickups sometimes, especially if you can roll down and get it to clean up. Yeah, but one thing that I should mention is the sound that I'm using a lot, like especially on this Five for Fighting gig. Where's my guitar? It's over there. Is the pulled tone pot on my new Sir signature guitar will give me series parallel, and that's great. I mean, then I get all this. So I love the sound of the humbucker in parallel in the bridge for a lot of stuff. That's great. When you want a cleaner thing, you know. So you can, my point is, you can wind the pickup a little hotter, like we have with and go a little warmer with the Alnico 2 magnet. And you can still get a nice bright sound by just pulling that tone pot. Now it's in parallel. It's got all this, like, you know, top end, kind of more like single coil-ish. So Yeah. Lower output pickups react different to effects too. Well, how you drive your effects, sure, can always be a thing, you know. Yeah, definitely. Okay, a few more here, and then I'm going to jet. Marzio PF59, unpotted around 8.5. Great pickup, haven't had a problem. Yeah, I mean, DiMarzio's, they got a lot of fans. Those 36th anniversary PAFs, those were really popular. Will you talk a little about the PRS HX100 versus the Soldano? Well, it's a much more Marshall vintage, not as much gain, a little more saggy. You know, it's a JTM 4500 circuit, I think. So it's even going to be a little, you know, a little less aggressive than a late 60s super lead. It's going to be a bit more of the Hendrixy thing and a different EQ and stuff. It was cool, much more vintagey, you know, like you want to play Black Crows, you want to play, you know, Free, or you want to play, you know, that kind of stuff. It's those tones, whereas the Soldano just wants to, you know, rip, you know, to me. So different amp for a different purpose, really. Love my Thornbucker Plus in my H8 Strat. Note definition is fantastic. That's awesome. I'd love to hear that. In my opinion, low output A2 PAF for the best sounding Buckers out there. And John, you with your Van Halen avatar thing there, or whatever it is, you know, it's like it's a thing where that I arrived at as well, like especially with gain and plexis and stuff. The A2 slightly hotter is like, you know, but still on the low output side of hot. I love as well because it just warms up the amp a little bit, and once again, it's balance of, you know, some of the parts. If you play a dark amp, you know, you might want an Alnico 5 pickup. Just depends. Yeah. I haven't been able to catch you live in a bit. Glad I could catch you, and glad to support more guitars. Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Thank you for all your support. Thank you, all you guys, for all your support. You're always good to me. I love you all. I should jet just because I've got this haircut appointment and I'm starving. I'm going to get a little bite before I do that. So you guys have a great day. There's one more super chat there. Had to have my left hand pointer finger partial. Ooh, I'm sorry to hear that. Do you know any prosthetic finger resources that will allow me to play? Dude, I don't. I wish I could help. The guy that comes to mind, of course, instantly is Tony Iommi. You know, he must have some resources for that. But I don't have any idea. I'm really sorry. That's a rough one. But at least we got Tony as inspiration. It can be done, right? And I wish I had some better advice for you. You know, I'm just not sure. Let us know how that goes, though. Keep us posted on what you find and figure out. Definitely interested to see, you know, how you do with that. That's it's got to be a tough one, man. So anyway, thinking about you, and I'm really sorry to hear that. But everybody out there have an awesome 4th. Sorry, I was flipping about the Steven Wilson comment. I'll go and look at it and see what he said, and then we'll revisit it next week and see. But I think it's a great thing to make music no matter what, and you know, whether it's new, old, whatever, do what you want. If you don't want to make it, don't make it. If you do want to make it, you should make it. And everybody enjoy the weekend. Be safe out there. Have a great 4th, and I will see you next week. So stoked you are all here with me. Over and out. Thank you.